أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الماسومين المظلومين ولعن الله أعداء الله ظالميهم من الأولين والآخرين أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المبين إن الله مع الذين اتقوا والذين هم محسنون صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات. So tonight I'm going to fulfill the promise that I made in the first week. We were talking about why do we fast? And the answer that Surah Baqarah gives us is that so that we might become tattaqun, those who are God conscious, those who are pious, those who have taqwa. Now, I'm going to stick with the Arabic word taqwa here because as we mentioned, the definition of the word taqwa is multifaceted, right? It's a little bit complex. It's not just saying that it's God-fearing because that has this idea of like, okay, I'm afraid of God, so do I want to get away from Him? There's no getting away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah is not some vindictive Lord of ours. In fact, He doesn't need anything from us, right? He created us, He provides for us. We sin constantly, and yet He continues to provide for us. So fearing Allah is one part of it, right? But it's more us fearing disappointing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other part of it was just being conscious of Allah, because if we try not to sin, which is the basis of taqwa. So if I'm going to define taqwa, it's not sinning. For the simplified definition, we're going to go with just not sinning. And if we are constantly making sure that, is this what Allah wants from us? Is this not what Allah wants from us? Has Allah forbidden this to us? Then that means that we are conscious of the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times. And this is why taqwa is referred to as God consciousness. Now, I said that we really can't be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if we don't have ma'rifat of Him. If we don't even know what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does He want from us, what is it that Allah requires of us, right? And this is not just in the fiqh, this is in understanding the guidance that was given through the Ahlul Bayt. So I also said that I'm not qualified to give anyone ma'rifat, right, of any kind, because this is recognition. And if I was to describe someone that you had no idea about to you, you'd be like, I'm not going to recognize him. I don't even know who you're talking about. But this is Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Muttaqeen. If there's anyone to ask, then we should ask him. So tonight, inshallah, we will go into the khutbah in Nahj al-Balagha, referred to as khutbah muttaqeen. So this is the khutbah in which Imam Ali alayhi salam explains what it is that makes someone a muttaqi, someone who is full of piety, of taqwa. Now, again, this is a very high level that he's going to describe. We're told that we should have taqwa and we should work on it and we should build towards it, but he gives us the exact goal that we're working towards as well as how to get there. So, with loud salawat, let us begin the khutbah of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen. So the story begins that one of the companions of Imam Ali alayhi salam by the name of Hammam, that's with a ha, not a ha, that means something completely different, by the name of Hammam comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen and asks him, "O Imam, explain to me what the muttaqi are like. What are these muttaqeen? But explain it to me as if I can see him right in front of me." Like I said, that's not something that is at all within our grasp, right? That's not something that we could do, but this is Nahj al-Balagha, the peak of eloquence. This is Imam Ali alayhi salam describing in such a way that he is able to imagine it. And he is able to imagine it to such an extent that we'll see what happens in the end, inshallah. So he comes up and says, please describe to me these muttaqeen as if I can see them. And Amir al-Mu'mineen is a bit hesitant at this point. This is high level knowledge and not everyone is ready for it. So Imam Ali alayhi salam says, it's sufficient for you to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and perform good acts because as the verse from Surah Nahl that I recited earlier, verily Allah is with those who guard themselves, have taqwa, and those who do good to others. The muhsineen, those who will do hasana, good for others. Now Hammam is saying, Imam Ali, I know this is in the Quran, but please, I need to know what it is that these muttaqi are. Your Imam al-Muttaqin, tell me. So then Imam Ali alayhi salam understands this desire, right? This heartfelt sincerity that he has in asking, and begins with the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the praise of Rasulullah. And then he states that Allah the Glorified, the Sublime, created creation. He created them without any need of their obedience or being safe from their sinning. Like I said in the beginning, right? Allah created everything in this world. And He did not need to create it, just as He did not need their obedience to Him. And He's not affected by us sinning, right? We say that, oh, we're sinning against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But really, in truth, that's only hurting ourselves. That's giving us distance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then he goes on to explain that because sin of anyone who sins does not harm him, nor does the obedience of anyone who obeys him benefit him. Wait, okay, so we're saying that not even the obedience benefits Allah? When we think of something, right, we always do something for a reason, for some kind of gain for ourselves. We're humans, right? So as we, let's say, create something like, let's say it's a technology. We create that technology to serve us. And when that technology doesn't work, we're like, what's wrong with this? Come on, work. And when it does work, we get some benefit out of it. But this is not the type of creation that we're talking about. This is Allah's creation. This is completely different from anything that we could ever understand. There is no connection of us affecting Allah in any way, whether it's negatively or positively. So then, He is distributed among them their livelihood and assigned them their positions in the world. Okay, so now we're saying that Allah has already distributed, right? And the night is coming up. The night in which this happens every year is coming up, Laylatul Qadr, in which it's written in the book what it is that we're going to get for the year and what it is that's going to happen to us this year. And that's why we try our utmost best to ensure that we are following Allah's will as much as possible, especially in these nights, right? Because just like some people, when they think someone is coming down their chimney, they're like, oh, I'm going to be good now. During the month of Ramadan, all the Muslimin are like, okay, well, shaitan's locked up and we're about to get everything written for us on the night of destiny. We got to be extra good. But Allah rewards us for this, right? This temporary taqwa that we have, Allah rewards us for it greatly. So, thus the God-fearing, those who have taqwa, in it are the people of distinction. They're different, right? They're not like everybody else. Their speech is to the point. Unlike me, they don't go meandering off on different topics. No, they stick to the point. They say only as much as is necessary. In fact, if I was to read through the entire khutbah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, it would take maybe 10 minutes. This is how Amir al-Mu'mineen's khutbah used to be. When we went over the khutbah of Rasulullah last week, it took maybe 10 minutes for him to say it all. In the middle of that, he was interrupted. But their speech is to the point. We say only what is necessary because Imam Ali alayhi salam says that those who speak less are the more wise. So, the less we speak, the less opportunity we have to, last week we mentioned this as well. There are 3 types of fasting as mentioned by Amir al-Mu'mineen. 1, the fasting of the stomach. 2, the fasting of the tongue. And 3, the fasting of the heart. That's the highest level. But each one leads to the other. As we hold back on our visceral, our bodily needs, our desires, then suddenly my tongue is a little bit drier. It's harder for me to speak. With that, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Right. So it's harder for us to speak, which means we speak less. We're more careful about the things that we say because it matters more now. Now my mouth is dry. I don't want to just be talking about everything to everybody in every presence. No, we're careful about what we say. And then that will lead us to wisdom and the fasting of the soul, inshallah. So, their speech is to the point. Their dress is moderate. Their gait is humble. Not super flashy clothing, right? Their gait, or the way that they walk even, is humble. They show humbleness not only in their speech, but also in their mannerisms. Why is this important? Because this is what shows sincerity. We've been talking about sincerity since the very beginning. The sincerity of our intention is paramount to any ibadah that we do, right? Any worship of Allah is fully dependent on the niyyah, right? The truth of ibadah is the niyyah. So if I'm, let's say, giving money to somebody, right? But I'm giving money to somebody so that everyone else can say, oh wow, mashallah, this man, you know what he did? He gave $150,000 to this. Wow, that's amazing. Let's all applaud him. Let's all pray for him, etc. But there's one distinction here when it comes to giving. That if you give in front of others such that it shows other people that they should give as well. If you're doing it with the intention that, okay, I'm only doing it in front of others so that they also give with their heart, right? It's sometimes we're like, okay, this person stood up. And when that person stands up, it gives us the courage and strength to do so as well. Well, the muttaqi is one who is humble in all their actions. They keep their eyes closed to what Allah made unlawful for them. And they put their ears to the knowledge which is beneficial to them. They're not listening to everything, right? Not trying to find out every little aspect of gossip that's going on in the world. No, they keep their ears open only to that knowledge that will be beneficial to them and their souls, inshallah. They remain in times of trials as they remain in comfort. So when the worst of difficulty is falling upon the muttaqin, you won't know. Like I said, they're humble people, right? But when we're in times of trial, what do we usually do? We don't have the fasting of the tongue. No, we'll be complaining, oh, I'm so sick right now, and this happened to my car, and this came up, and my parents have been telling me this and that, and it's so difficult. It's fine, you can consult with people. But then that can also lead to, oh, and this person did this to me, and that person is doing that, and this, and now we've gone into sinning. So it's best for us to ensure that we control ourselves, our tongues, the way that we act even when we're in times of difficulty. For a muttaqi person, you won't even know. They remain in times of trials as they remain in comfort. If there had not been fixed periods of life ordained for each, their spirits would not have remained in their bodies, even for a twinkling of an eye, because their eagerness for the reward. So, if it wasn't for the fact that Allah made us come to this earth for a reason, for a certain amount of time, these are the people who are not afraid of death. These are the people like Hazrat Qasim, who said that if it's for you, Ya Aba Abdullah, death is sweeter than honey. I would rather die than live in this world. And this is Imam Ali alayhi salam, who divorced this world 3 times. This world was nothing to him, right? And he's the one explaining to us that we shouldn't be attached to this world in such a way. That is what makes taqwa true, right? So, the greatness of the Creator is seated in their heart, so everything else appears small in their eyes. Thus, to them, paradise is as though they see it and are enjoying its favors. To them, hell is also as if they see it and are suffering its punishments right now. How many of us can say this? How many of us can truly say that Allah is so strong within our hearts that as we go and do anything, we realize that, oh, this is what Allah wants from us, then this is what I see from paradise. And this is what Allah doesn't want from us, then there I see that there is hell. We don't often think that, do we? But this is why I said that for taqwa to be true, we need ma'rifat. We need recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should have Him in our heart so strongly that anytime we're about to do something, it will start with Bismillah and it will have the niyyah of qurbatan ilallah. Now, if we do this, how many people are going to go and break their fast or have some haram food or listen to music and start that with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim? Right? No. If we institute this in our lives, right? That just think about it. You don't have to say it every time, right? But we're told that the muttaqi is the one who does say it out loud before they start to eat, before they drink water, before they do anything. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So, they have Allah so thoroughly vested in their hearts that heaven is in front of them, hell is in front of them. And perhaps this is why they have that peace of mind, right? That no matter what happens in this world, they're seeing heaven, they're seeing hell. They're seeing that if I go through this trouble, this difficulty right now, then that's my heaven. And they see that if I give up on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, na'udhu billah, right? If I do, then that hell right there is so much worse than whatever I'm going through right now. This is taqwa. That's the basis of it, right? I said it's to not sin, but in reality, that's the consciousness of Allah that we should have in our hearts. Their hearts are grieved, others are protected from their evils, their bodies are thin, their needs are scanty, very little. Their souls are chaste, they endured hardship for a short while in consequence they secured comfort for a long time. It is a beneficial transaction that Allah made easy for them. We talked in the very beginning about the people who will see their transactions with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala either as I'm afraid of hell, right? This is like the slave. I'm afraid of hell, so I will listen to everything that Allah says. This is a baseline of taqwa, if you think about it, right? If you're afraid of Allah's wrath and disappointing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then there's a reason that He talks about hell and all of the difficulties that will come from it. It's to remind us, right? To scare us from the evil of our own deeds. So, for them, this transaction is not like that. This transaction is that, for a short while, I'll go through some difficulty. This entire life is difficulty. For a short while, they will go through this life, and they know that the next one is much longer. An analogy that is given oftentimes is, I don't really like to go too much into analogy, but just to explain, is that in the womb, when we were in the womb, we were there for 9 months, right? And then, to us, that was everything. We were getting everything for us, right? You don't have to do anything, no work, all the food, sustenance is coming to you, but you're deprived of everything as well, right? Your senses. What do you see from the womb? What do you hear from the womb? What do you feel? It's nothing. That's why when we come into this world, we're crying, we're overwhelmed. But that time in the womb, at that moment, feels like it's everything. But it's only 9 months. How much longer will we live in this world? Maybe 100 times that, right? Inshallah. Inshallah, everyone gets to live even longer than 100 times 9 months, right? We'll live for 100 years. But maybe we get to live for 100 times what is the time in the womb. And yet, when we come into this world, we think that it is everything. All that we see here, all that we hear here, everything that we're getting here, it seems like it is everything to us. But in reality, we're told the next life, that's the long one. That's the long run for us, right? That's the one where it's eternity. We can't even fathom this. So, if we hold ourselves back from the desires of this world, from the baubles, if you will, right? Shiny things, right? That's all this world is. It's just these shiny, nice little things that are surrounding us, distracting us. And if we hold ourselves back from it just enough and do what Allah wants from us, then we get the next world. And inshallah, when we all get to the next world, it will be Imam Ali alayhi salam who greets us. I would like to go on if everyone is with me. There's a little bit left. We've got to the basis of it. All right. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. During the night, they are upstanding on their feet, reading portions of the Quran. Salatul Layl is such an important act. One of the acts that we're told that if we do every night, right? Bibi Zainab, in the most difficult of conditions, she makes sure that she will recite Salatul Layl, even if she can't stand to do it. She will sit and recite Salatul Layl. And reciting it in a well-measured way. Okay, I'm going to throw some shade here. We're not speed reading the Quran. Okay, we're not standing up with a bunch of other people around us and then just like sprinting through the Quran to get through it. One para every day. No. Read the Quran in such a way. We talked about shukr. We talked about thankfulness towards Allah, right? Thankfulness towards Allah we talked about in one way. There's actually two things that can be difficult once you get someone something. Last time I gave the analogy of the car, right? Your dad buys you a car. Your dad buys you a car, he expects you to use it, right? Use it for the right reasons. He doesn't want you to get in that car and give it to his enemy, right? So Allah didn't give us this body and everything that we have so that we can give it over to shaitan. He didn't give it to us so that we can abuse it. No. He gave us this body, right? And he gave us the chance to serve him. Now what if you just left that car parked in the garage? You never touched it. You're like, oh, this is the most amazing thing. Thank you so much, Dad. And then you continue riding the bus. Your dad would come up to you and be like, why are you riding the bus? I got you a car. What's going on? Why aren't you using it? There's another way that sometimes we think we're being thankful, but in fact, we're not. Right? The blessing that we have, we take it for granted. A lot of times, this is how we are towards the Quran. Allah says, "Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr." Verily, we revealed it in the night of destiny. This is the entire reason the month of Ramadan is so important. This night of destiny. And what is the distinction? This is when the Quran was revealed. The living miracle, the words, the direct words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we are all lucky enough, we are all blessed enough to be able to recite the words of Allah. How often do we think about that? It's not just Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. No, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Think about the importance of this living miracle that we say is all of truth, and yet what do we do with it? We will put it on a shelf, very respectful shelf, mind you, put it on the shelf, and then we'll take it out, maybe during the month of Ramadan, right? And maybe during some functions that we have. It's a very nice looking Quran though, right? Leather bound, gilded covers, we have it wrapped up in this nice cloth. But are we benefiting from that Quran? If not that one, then what about the one that can be on our phones? We'll look at it when we need to look something up, but maybe that's the extent of it. No, build that connection with the Quran. If we build that connection with the Quran, we said this is the words of Allah. If we're trying to recognize Allah, gain ma'rifat of Allah, where should we go? The Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. They're the path. They are Sirat al-Mustaqim for us. So, they're reciting the Quran. They recite it in a well-measured way, in a beautiful way, creating grief for themselves and seeking by it the cure for their ailments. So when we look for someone to help us, in Surah Al-Fatiha, we say, what do we say in Surah Al-Fatiha? إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. You alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help. But how many of us can truly say that? How many of us will ask someone for help and think that in truth this person is just a vessel through which Allah is helping me? Or instead do we go, oh, thank you so much, you're an amazing person, you've helped me so much, nobody else would have helped me. No, somebody was helping you, in fact. Somebody else was helping you. It was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we recited dua tawassul in the beginning, right? We're asking through them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who are closest, Ya Allah, please help us. So they look for a cure for their ailments in the Quran. If they come across a verse creating eagerness, they pursue it avidly. So they don't just read the verses. No, when something strikes them from the Quran, then they look into it. And that's the difference there. Is that a lot of times we'll have the Quran, right? We'll recite the Quran, we'll read the Quran, but we'll never ponder, we'll never contemplate, we'll never actually try to find out what the meaning is. We'll never read the tafasir of the Ahlul Bayt, right? What have they explained about the Quran? If they feel as if it's in front of them, like they feel heaven is in front of them. When they come across a verse that contains fear of hell, they bend their ears and their hearts towards it. They find that guidance. When it's reminding them of hell, they think about it, they focus on it, and feel as though the sounds of hell, the cries of hell are coming to their ears right now. They bend themselves from their backs and prostrate their foreheads, their palms, their knees. We get ourselves in the most lowly position, in front of whom? None other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like I said before, that Allah is so kareem, right? That He preserves our pride. We don't have to bow in front of anyone but Allah. And if there's anyone to bow before, that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we don't have to put head upon the earth for anyone except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they understand the meaning of that. And when they come, during the day, they're enduring, learned, virtuous, and God-fearing. Okay, these three is what I wanted to focus on. They are enduring. They have that sabr, right? They have that patience. Trouble comes, we said, they're at peace. Why? Because they know on the other side of that trouble is heaven. They know on this side of the trouble, if we fail it, if we go backwards, it's hell. We said that we're making our paradise, right? With every good act that we do, we build our paradise. This, you do this amal, and inshallah, you'll have a palace in paradise, right? You do that amal, and inshallah, what was it that the butcher did? Hazrat Musa was told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this humble butcher, right, has a place next to Hazrat Musa in Jannah. This is one of the ulul azam prophets, one who can speak with Allah, kalam Allah. This Musa, this Nabi Musa alayhi salam. And this humble butcher has that place for what? He would take care of his mother so carefully. Just for this. Truly, Jannatul Ahda Aqdam al-Ummaha. Jannah is below the feet of our mothers. And yet, one of the greatest blessings, one of the greatest opportunities that Allah has given to us is our mother. And how often do we actually think about that? And how often do we take her for granted? Unfortunately, there is not one of us who can fulfill the right of the mother. Not one. But inshallah, as we try to be muttaqi, we will also try to focus on the things that will make Allah happy, including making others happy, the mu'mineen, right? Our mothers. So, they fear Allah so much that it makes them thin like arrows. If anyone looks at them, he believes that they are sick, though they're not. He says that they have gone mad. In fact, it is concern with the akhirah that makes them go mad. So even if the entire world turns against them, they are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If everyone is saying this guy is crazy, don't follow him, like he's doing this level of Islam that, Allah made Islam easy for us. Just say Bismillah and you can eat whatever meat you want to eat. But no, this man, he specifically goes and makes sure that it is a Muslim butcher and it is a tahir area and everything about that food is halal, including the money that he uses to buy it. Right? Halal rizq does not just come from the food. Halal rizq is the money you use to purchase that food. We need to ensure that we're not doing something that would be jeopardizing that. Not a single ounce of it. They are not satisfied with their meager good acts and they don't regard their major acts as great. They always blame themselves and are afraid of their deeds because, and Imam Ali alayhi salam, in another instance where someone was praising him so much, he said something along these lines as well. Like I said, Imam al-Muttaqin. When anyone of them is spoken of highly, he says, I know myself better than others, and my Lord knows me better than I know. O Allah, do not deal with me according to what they say, and make me better than what they think of me, and forgive me for what they don't know of. Allah is Sittar al-Ayub. One of the great blessings that we also take for granted is that Allah forgives and covers up our sins. The person that you will praise them as much as you want to praise them, and at the end of the day, they'll hear none of it. They'll say that what you praise is in its place. But I know my acts. Allah knows my acts better than even I know my acts. No matter how much we do for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if we thank Him for every little thing, then we have to thank Him for our ability to thank Him. We have to thank Him for our desire to thank Him. We have to thank Him. And this was the life of Imam Zain al-Abidin, right? He would fall down in sajda. He is Sayyid al-Sajidin for this reason. He would fall down in prostration at any moment. At any moment, people would see him just fall down before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the smallest thing they would think. But they don't realize what the Imams realize. They don't have that ma'rifat, that the small thing that we take for granted is a huge thing. It is a great thing. We don't understand the depth of it. Among the signs of any one of them is that you will see the strength in their religion, determination, along with leniency, faith with conviction, eagerness for knowledge, and knowledge with forbearance. It said earlier that they are the learned, right? I said I wanted to go into this. Imam Ali alayhi salam said Saluni. Ask while I'm still here, while you have the chance, ask of me anything that you want to ask. And what do the people do? What do they ask him? Childish things. But there were some, right? There were some like Hammam who asked him, describe to me my goal, a muttaqi, right? As if he's right in front of me. And so Imam Ali alayhi salam says, they are the learned. It's not enough for us to say, okay, I know what Allah wants from me now. I'm going to do it. That's it. I'm not going to sin anymore, and I'm going to do all the best things, right, that Allah talks about. No, ma'rifat comes from our learning, and that comes from our desire. We have to continue to pursue it. It doesn't end. It never ends. In truth, the ma'rifat that we seek is infinite, right? Allah is infinite. We can never have an idea of Allah. Imam Ali alayhi salam says that whatever supposition, whatever idea of Allah you have in your head, it's not Him. He is other than that. No, our minds are limited and He is unlimited. Everything in this world is limited and He is unlimited. And so these muttaqi people are not just the people who are praying all the time. They're not just the people who are fasting all the time. They're the most learned. They are the ones who are learning about Islam. But does he just say Islam? No, he says all knowledge. Knowledge that brings benefit, right? He said it earlier, that they know. They seek the knowledge that brings them benefit with their ears. And he talks about how they have endurance and hardship. He talks about how they actually desire what is good. They desire what is halal. They don't desire what is not good for them, right? And they hate greed. They hate this attachment to this world, right? That holds us back because we think of greed as just like, oh, I want more money. No, greed is, I want. That's the basis of greed, right? Whatever you say after that, unless it's, connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's greed. If it is an attachment to this world, a desire for this world, then they push themselves away from it, right? He performs virtuous deeds but feels afraid. In the evening, he's so anxious to offer thanks to Allah. In the morning, his anxiety is to remember Allah. So, at night, do we go to sleep ever thinking about what Allah has given us in that day? Do we ever ponder that Allah has given us everything that we experienced in that very day? Not just the things, our experiences, our small amounts of joy and happiness, right? Our overcoming all of the difficulties of that day. Do we ever stop to think that maybe I should thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before I go to sleep? And when we wake up, I know personally, I have a hard time with this. When I wake up for Fajr, I'm not like, okay, let me get up and pray and let me go immediately and do wudu and start Salatul Layl. No, it takes me a while. It takes me a while to get my brain together. It takes me a while to get myself motivated to get up from bed even. But the muttaqi are those who actually understand that this prayer is a blessing for us. It's a beautiful feeling. And we've felt it every once in a while. We will feel that connection to Allah while we pray. At least once, I think every mu'min has felt that when they were praying, they were at peace. Maybe they don't remember it afterwards, right? Maybe they don't recognize it in that moment, but a type of sublime peace that inshallah may everyone have the opportunity to go for ziyarah, but it felt there so strongly. When you see the Kaaba in front of you, when you know that that's where Imam Ali alayhi salam came out of. When you go to Najaf, when you go to Karbala, the kind of peace that you feel when you pray, that connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's what the muttaqeen have, right? And when they have that desire, just like how we desire to go back, there's never been someone that I know who went for ziyarah and was like, yeah, okay, I did it. That's it, right? Maybe for Hajj, people are like, wow, that was really difficult. That was my one Hajj of my lifetime, right? The wajib one is done. But for ziyarah, I've never heard someone say that yeah, that was it. I got everything that I needed. No. Every time. And I think this is within the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I can't speak to the plan of Allah. But in my heart, Allah puts that desire within us. That you know what? There's something that you're missing. You want to come back here next time, inshallah. And may Allah give all of us the chance to go if we haven't gone and go again if we have gone. So he passes the night in fear and rises in the morning with joy, fear lest the night is passed in forgetfulness, and joy over the favor and mercy that Allah has given him. His self, his nafs, refuses to endure a thing which it does not like, and he does not grant its request towards what it wants. So that's that inner, if we want to use Freudian terminology, which is now debunked, but that id within ourselves, that desire, right? That says, okay, you know what? I really want to do this. Sometimes it's not always the best thing. Sometimes it's destructive. Sometimes it's, I want to have some sugar right now. I don't care about the cavities. Sometimes it's not always the best thing for us, but we want it. And the muttaqi, the basis of taqwa, like I said, is controlling that nafs. It's controlling your desires. It's controlling that, as I labeled it earlier, greed for this world. They hate it. The muttaqi, they hate greed. But the coolness in his eyes lies in what is to last forever, while for the things of this world that will not keep, he keeps aloof. He transfuses knowledge and forbearance and speech with action. He's not someone who just talks. He's not someone who just knows. He's someone who acts upon that, who benefits the world. You will see his hopes are simple. His shortcomings are few. His heart is fearing. His spirit is contented. His meal is small and simple. His religion is safe. Small and simple meals, guys. During the month of Ramadan, I said something that's very, very difficult for us to handle, right? If thought comes, we're all like, all right, it's a feast. We're going to go. We're going to have a little bit of everything. There's pakorde, there's fried foods, there's fruit, there's fresh things. There's so much, and I want some of all of it, right? And then I want dessert. But the muttaqi, the meals are simple, right? Because these meals are of this world. Maybe they are halal, but even then, increasing desire. We are told by the masumin that when you have a full belly, when your belly is full, we're always told that you should eat up until you're still a little bit hungry. But when your belly is full, there's a sluggishness in you. A lot of us will talk about it, right? We'll feel it. There's a sluggishness in you, and that will keep you away from worship. It's not something that's haram, right? It's not stated that you cannot fill your belly, that is haram. No. But some will say that even this is a type of israf, right? We say, oh no, we got to finish everything on our plate, otherwise it's wasteful. No. Putting everything into your body when it doesn't need that is also wasteful. In fact, it's so wasteful that then it's starting to harm your body. Excess in sugar, excess in cholesterol, we all know. Diabetes, heart disease, all of these things come from what? This greed, this israf, this wastage, that we don't think of it that way. Good alone is expected from him, evil is not to be feared from him. Even if he is found among those who forget Allah, he is counted among those who remember him. And if he is among the rememberers, then he is not counted among the forgetful. He forgives him who is unjust to him, and gives to him who deprives him. He believes well with him who behaves ill with him. He behaves well with him who is ill to him. And there's more to the khutbah, and I would recommend that everyone, inshallah, in the nights coming, that they read through Khutbah Muttaqin from Amir al-Mu'mineen in Nahj al-Balagha. But this statement right here, that he is just to him who is unjust to him. He behaves well with him who behaves badly with them. We don't often do it. We're vindictive. Humans, vindictive creatures, right? Animals tend to be as well. Someone wrongs us, we double down. We're going to wrong them 10 times over. We're going to show that they're the worst, right? This is true. Imam Ali alayhi salam, whenever he was wronged, he stood up for what was right. However, then people will ask us things like, oh, how come Imam Ali alayhi salam didn't just go and kill those who stole khilafah for him? Or why did he protect them even when others were coming to kill them? Or why did he help them when they asked for help? The answer we're often given is because, Imam Ali alayhi salam wanted to preserve, peace within Islam, and it's true. But intentions are a complex thing. There's never just one reason for anything, right? Even the small things that we do, there's not just one reason for it. No, Imam Ali alayhi salam is Imam al-Muttaqeen. So, when they steal khilafah from him, when they put a rope around his neck, when they drag him from his house, when they put a burning door upon his wife, he has patience. And then, on the night that will be tomorrow night, when he goes to the masjid, he knows what will happen. He knows exactly what will happen. Not only he knows, the chickens know. They're trying to stop him, right? They're gathering around him. And he says, "O Zainab, if you cannot care for them, then set them free. Otherwise, be sure to take good care of them, feed them." He cannot bear that there would be injustice even to these animals. And he goes. And they say that he is agitated. He's nervous before going to the masjid. This is Imam Ali alayhi salam. He did not hesitate in any battle. Everyone ran away and he was there. He was the only one left standing. He picked up a door with 2 fingers. This is Imam Ali alayhi salam. What does he have to be nervous of? But he goes forward. He goes for Salat al-Fajr in the masjid. And then he sees a man lying on his stomach, concealing something beneath him. And he says, "Oh man, get up. The time for Fajr is almost coming." Does Imam Ali alayhi salam know who this man is? Of course he does. Imam Ali alayhi salam is rousing his own killer, his own murderer. Is this not suicide? No. The desire for this world was so little, and the desire for the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was so high, that even when he knew that this man was going to kill him in the act of sujood, Imam Ali alayhi salam says, "Wake up. It's time for Fajr." One last guidance. We see the same thing with Imam al-Hussein. As they are killing his entire family, what does he say to them? "Do you not know who I am? There is still time to save yourselves. If you do not kill me, the grandson of the Prophet, there is a chance for you all." To the people who said, "Oh, come to Kufa," and then took up arms against him. To the people who shot an arrow into Hazrat Ali Asghar's neck. To the people who cut off the limbs of Hazrat Abbas, he says to them that there's still a chance for you. And Amir al-Mu'mineen gives one last advice to this man that, come to the straight path. There's still time. And yet what does this man do? When Amir al-Mu'mineen is in sujood, this man comes up from behind and he strikes Amir al-Mu'mineen upon his head, and Amir al-Mu'mineen says the most beautiful words, "Fustu bi Rabbil Kaaba." Amir al-Mu'mineen remembers the beginning, even at his end, that I came into the Kaaba, "O Lord of the house that I came into, I have been successful. I did not flinch when I knew this man would kill me. I followed your every command even when you didn't tell me to." This is Amir al-Mu'mineen. And what does Amir al-Mu'mineen say to Imam al-Hasan at the end? He says that if I pass away, Hasan, treat this man justly. Give him some water. Unwind his ropes. No. If I were to die from his wound, then you hit him with 1 strike. Don't mutilate his corpse. This is Imam al-Muttaqeen, Imam Ali alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.